Hello, everyone, and welcome to the lecture series for the preparation of CLAT examination. In this particular lecture series, we are talking about the legal reasoning portion of CLAT examination, where which there are different subjects which gets incorporated in the legal reasoning portion of your examination, and we have to deal with each and every subject. We have been dealing with the different acts and legislations that has been there in the syllabus of CLAT 2023, and we are going through each and every subject which are important and which have often been asked in your CLAT examination, specifically in your legal reasoning portion. Till now, we have completed the law of contracts. We have discussed all the important sections and the case laws that are going to be helpful to attempt the questions which is going to be there in your CLAT examination. After that, we have completed your law of crime, where which we have discussed the Indian Penal Code. We have discussed some provisions of Code of Criminal Procedure, and we have gone through all the important sections. Apart from the sections, we have also gone through the exceptions that has to be considered whenever there is an offense that takes place. We have gone through the definitions of the different sections of the different offenses. We have discussed what exactly is murder. We have discussed what is theft, what are the general exceptions which always are taken into consideration whenever there is an offense taking place. How evidence is taken, how the police needs to work, all these things we have discussed. Apart from that, we have also discussed the law of torts, in which we have talked about the definition of tort, what are the essentials of tort, and what are the defenses of tort, and what are different type of torts are there, and how in Indian judicial system we find mention of torts in the criminal law as well as in the civil law. All these important legislations are going to be helpful for all the CLAT aspirants, because these legislations are often being asked in your CLAT examination through paragraphical forms, where which you will be given a paragraph in which there will be a narration. That narration can be in relation to some illustrations that we have studied in the legislations that we were discussing. When we were discussing the law of contract, we have gone through different illustrations. When we were studying the Indian Penal Code 1860, we have gone through the different illustrations, and taking into consideration those illustrations only, and the specific sections which attracts these type of illustrations, it has been often seen that the examiner of CLAT examination prepares paper on the basis of these illustrations and the famous case laws. We have discussed the important case laws in the while we were discussing the different legislations, when we were discussing the different acts, and we have to make sure that we are remembering these important sections and the case laws, and also the illustrations which you will find while you are trying to study the important legislations. These legislations and the sections and the illustrations and the case laws combined together will provide you the whole crux of all the principles that is required whenever you are going to attempt any question which is going to be there in your CLAT examination, specifically in legal reasoning portion. Because once we say legal reasoning, what we are trying to understand is that legal reasoning portion is obviously something which is related to legality plus reasoning. So a student, a CLAT aspirant is not expected, obviously, to go through each and every sections and each and every illustrations and the legislations, because that is what is the work of the advocate or the lawyer who, after have completed the graduation, is supposed to do. But that analytical skills that is required to understand what is logically correct, and how the law is also dependent over the logic, and how the on basis of that logical sense incorporating into the legislations. We have incorporated different rules. And if we can understand, if we can analyze those logic according to the legality, according to the legislations, then you are actually competent to become an advocate. And that is what is going to be understood, and that is what is going to be tested when you're going for the CLAT examination. So, for the legal reasoning portion, it becomes very important for all the students, whomsoever are going for CLAT examination, that this lecture series, which consists of around 60 lectures, along with the different questions that is going to be asked, where there will be a mock test in which there will be different type of questions that has been asked in your previous year CLAT examinations. We are going to discuss those legislations and the question paper, so that you are also very confident whenever you're going to attempt these type of questions, which is going to be there in legal reason. For that, I would like to again reiterate you that in our previous video, we have studied the important provisions while we are discussing the constitutional law. And in the constitutional law, we have studied a lot of things. We have studied Article 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, which we have just overficially understood that Article 1 talks about the what exactly is the name of the country and how it has been formed, which starting from Article 4 to Article 9, 4 to Article 11, we find mention of the citizenship, how we are going to have the citizenship into consideration. Often there has been question that if at all there has, if somebody wants to adopt a citizenship, what are the different grounds? So we have gone through that also. We have studied state, Article 12, which we have defined that whenever we are talking about fundamental rights, whenever we are talking about fundamental rights, what we are actually discussing, that is something that we need to take into consideration. So fundamental right, whenever we are talking about fundamental rights in under part 3, the definition of state will be according to Article 12 of the Constitution. So that is what we have studied, and we have understood what Article 12 is suggesting about constitutional law. Understood? So that is what we need to take into consideration when you're discussing Article 12 of the Constitution. Okay. So that is all about what exactly is state. And now we have understood that what will be the definition of state whenever we are referring to the fundamental rights. And in the fundamental rights, we have studied the definition. We have studied what exactly is Article 13 talking about the law and consistency with the fundamental rights. That whenever there is a law which is in derogation or in conflict with the fundamental rights, it will be considered as null and void. So that is what we have done so far. We have also studied equality before law and equal protection of law, and we have in detail understood what are the different articles and what are the different case laws in regards to equality, and we have gone through that case laws. We have also studied the prohibition of discrimination on the grounds of religion, race, that how can this is also coming under equality portion only, that when we studied that till Article 18 it is only about equality, and then we have discussed that it is the main article is Article 14, then the under the delegated articles are Article 15, 16, which is talking about equality of opportunity and matters of public employment, and we are talking about promotions also, promotions of backward classes by providing reservation in promotion also. We have studied Article 17, which is talking about untouchability, and Article 18. We have also studied the protection of certain rights regarding freedom of speech, etc. Under Article 19, we have studied all the clauses A, B, C, D, E, and what are the limitations of these limitations of all the rights that has been available to us. Then we have studied the protection in respect of conviction of offences Often there is a question that will be put in front of you in regards to the Constitution, that which article of the Constitution provides protection against conviction for offences. The answer would be Article 20. And what are the rights of the prisoners? And that particularly is talking about Article 22, against arrest and detention in certain cases. So these are the two rights which often the students gets confused, that which article has to be mentioned if we are talking about protection in respect of conviction for offenses and against arrest and detention. So whenever there is arrest, what are the grounds? We have studied the case of D.K. Basu versus State of West Bengal versus State of West Bengal 1996 case, where which there are the 11 guidelines that were given to you, which explains that how the arrest has to be made. It is very important. Then we have studied the detention, where which we studied about two types of detention, one being the punitive and the second being preventive. And what are the grounds that a person can be arrested in preventive detention and one can be arrested to protect punitive detentions, and what are the rights that is given against these type of arrests has been mentioned under Article 12. This is very important that you need to remember. Then we have also studied about article protection of life and personal liberty. Protection of life and personal liberty, we have gone through a majority of around more than 15 case laws that we have discussed when we were talking about Article 21. All those articles, all those case laws perhaps are very important, whether be it A.K. Gopalan case, whether be it Maneka Gandhi case, whether be it Olga Tellis case. All these cases becomes very important for a discussion, whether be it K.S. Pottuswamy, Nalsar case. All these cases are recent cases which gets attracted whenever you're discussing Article 21. And that is why it becomes very important for you to not only go through the provisions of the article, but also see through all the case laws that are going to be asked in your CLAT examination. We have studied Article 21 also, which is talking about right to education. Article 21A, there is a mention of 121A, which it means that there is an amendment that has been made, an amendment which was brought about by the 86th Amendment, which made 3 changes: one in fundamental rights, second in directive principles of state policy, and the third in your fundamental duties. These are the things that we have already studied. Now, in this particular lecture, we are going to talk about the remaining of the important articles of fundamental rights, because majority of the time the questions that will be put in front of you will be from Article 1 to Article 22 first. Okay, and then from the remaining article, the questions that will be put in front of you till Article 35, if you talk about only fundamental rights, if you only talk about fundamental rights, then the questions that will be there will be in superficial form. Superficial form. What does that mean? That they will be directly asking you that under which part of the Constitution / under which article you find right to propagate. So these type of information will be asked, and it will be in superficial form. So just by mere superficial reading of these articles, you will be well versed, and after maybe 1 or 2 revisions, you will be well versed. Okay, under which article right to exploitation has been mentioned, under which article right to religion has been mentioned, under right to constitutional remedies has been mentioned under which article. And why is it important? Because it will help you out in just applying your mind and finding out the right answer. Because in CLAT examination, you are not supposed to showcase your knowledge, but rather you're going to mark the correct answer. And in order to mark the correct answer, you should know what you have to study and how you have to study. It is the smart work that is going to be very much helpful for you when you in order to crack the examination, and not exactly remembering and recalling and reading each and everything. Because the reason why I'm telling you this, it is perhaps impossible for anyone to recall and remember everything whatsoever they have studied. So, as I've already informed you, I'm telling you again that it is better to retain 100% of 60% of your syllabus rather than 60% of your of the 100% of your syllabus. Because here the thing is, when you are remembering only 60% of your 100%, that you are not sure that whatsoever you have retained is correct or not. But if at all you are 100% confident that the 60% syllabus that I have completed, I am pretty much sure that whatsoever questions will be asked to me in the CLAT examination, I will be able to answer that in a very efficient and correct manner. Then it is perhaps better for you. So let's move on and let's try to understand that what are the remaining important sections that are there. So first, let's complete the Article 23, which is talking about right to against exploitation. So earlier, what used to happen was that there used to be forced labor during the British time, and even after the Britishers left, there were forced labor, and because of which there was zamindari system, there was untouchability, there were inequality, and till date you will find that instances, not only in the reels, in the movies, but also in the real world, where which you see trafficking of human beings. Now, when we say trafficking in human beings, what do you understand? What do you understand? Trafficking in human being means that immoral transport of human beings for illegal illegal work. It includes prostitution, that is sex workers. It includes forced labor, and it includes beggary. And not it is not only limited to these works. There are various instances where which people are illegally transported from one place or to another, giving them false pretext that you will be given employment, you will be having a good lifestyle there, you will be earning a lot of amount of money. And by providing these type of false um, claims, majority of the people who are oppressed, who are not able to get the right amount of revenue, who have no who have atrocities that they have faced, what happens is that they get swayed by these type of promises, and they accept these transactions, and in the end of the day they are forced to do illegal acts, they are included in immoral activities. If you have seen different movies, there was one movie of Alia Bhatt recently in news, I'm unable to recall the name, in which she was immorally trafficked trafficked uh, to a brothel, and there she was forced to be a sex worker. So that instance, that movie explains that if at all somebody has been illegally trafficked in of the human beings and there has been a forced labor, and you can see that it is not only confined to traffic in human beings. Okay, it is not only confined, it is also mentioning and forced labor, which means there is trafficking of human beings is one thing, that is also a crime. Okay, that is also a crime, and that crime is under IPC. Apart from that, if forced labor is also being asked to do, if it is a forced labor, then it is also the violation of fundamental rights. Violation of fundamental rights, because Article 23 prohibits trafficking in human beings and forced labor. What does that mean? It means that if somebody has been immorally trafficked for forced labor, then their fundamental right is being infringed. And once their fundamental right is being infringed, you can resort to the court. And you can tell the court that there is a certain person who has been immorally trafficked, illegally trafficked from this place to another, and he has been asked to do the forced labor. The court will see through it that whether that person has been immorally trafficked or not, and then they will pass a writ. Okay, they will pass a writ by virtue of Article 32. That is something that we're going to discuss very shortly after the completion of this particular fundamental rights regards to right to exploitation, right to religion, and then we are talking about reservation of reserve classes. We are going to discuss Article 32 also. So Article 32 provides us what? It provides the Supreme Court with authority to pass the different writs, and these writs are nothing but court orders where which the court is seeking that this particular action needs to be done within a stipulated period of time. Then we are going to discuss those 5 writs which the Supreme Court can pass. But here, what we need to understand that if at all there is anybody who has been trafficked, and since we are talking about prohibition, so that particular act is obviously illegal. But if at all it has been done, then what you need to do? We need to resort to the court, and we need to explain the court that these things has happened, and then the court will pass a writ by which the person has to be present, has to be made present in the court. And once the person is present in the court, then the court will ask that person whether that particular action whatsoever is being claimed is true or not. If the person says that yes, I have been immorally trafficked and I have been forced to do this particular act, then their fundamental right is infringed, and whomsoever is the wrongdoer will be punished according to the Indian Penal Code, and the person will be and the person who has been the victim his fundamental rights will be restored. So this is how the fundamental rights take a very important role in providing and safeguarding not only that the person should be provided rights, but if at all there is any sort of exploitation that is being done or to that particular person, he will be asked to he will be provided relief and claim, and he will be given that particular right for that manner. Okay.